I am so excited. I'm so excited. I am. I'm just so ready for this year to be better. Did you catch that? Notice I didn't say perfect. I didn't say I'm so ready for this year to be perfect. I said I'm so excited for this year to be better. But wait, why not perfect? Shouldn't we want things to be perfect? Chad, I'm really confused right now. I was waiting to make my New Year's resolutions from this episode as I knew you would have some ideas. Now you're telling me that you don't want us to want things to be perfect? I'm really confused. Well, let's open this box a little more. This season, this first week of this new year, rather than the list of how things are going to be perfect this year, what if we decided to not make it perfect, but instead, better? Somewhere in the back of our minds, we have this idea that this year, it's going to be perfect. Why is that? Why do we insist on seeking perfection? What if, for this year, we erased the word perfect from our vocabulary and replaced it with better? This year, I'm ready already to stop striving for perfection and just to aim to make things, including myself, better. Even though it may seem like a crazy idea at first, I think this will be the key for emotional and physical well-being in this coming year. Here's why. Better means taking more breaks. Better means enjoying quality time with friends and family. This journey of self-improvement should lead us to a path towards better health, better happiness, better relationships, better you. But every year, buried deep down in our hearts, lies this hope that this year might finally be the one, whatever that means. That this time around, things will be perfect. But perfection is like a ghost. It's elusive and impossible to catch. And there's something both inspiring and yet heartbreaking in such a quest for perfection, as all too often we set our sights and motivate ourselves to meet grand goals. Let's be honest, it can be hard to keep up with long term. Not really sustainable if you take a step back and look at it. Yes, it feels great when first launching into a project or a goal and we're ready to take it on and reach the highest heights, but sometimes that comes with a side order of defeat. We all make mistakes and slip up along the way, which that's okay. It's natural when we're reaching for something more challenging than we've reached for before. So instead of getting discouraged and hitting this mark of perfection, let's start this year. I want you to start this year with a different approach. And here's the phrase. Are you ready? Write this down. Not perfect, better. I'm going to say it again. Not perfect, better. Here, say it with me. Are you ready? This is our mantra for 2023. Not perfect, better. I'm Chad Lawson, and let's calm it down in 3, 2, 1. Humankind has been on an eternal quest for perfection, since time began. Social media can certainly confirm such a statement. We start with the best of intentions, getting up at 5 a.m. to exercise or throwing away those well-loved packets of cigarettes, squeezing into clothes we bought a size too small with the hopes of one day they would fit perfectly. But there's just one problem. Reality and lack of motivation have a way of ruining even the most ambitious plans. We feel defeated before we even begin. That newfound vigor for meeting goals usually disappears faster than a plate of chocolate chip cookies just right out of the oven. Now, knowing this doesn't mean we should give up forever, though, or throwing in the towel. It just means that sometimes we need to recalibrate why we're creating these ambitious aims to begin with. Without a deep understanding of what we're aiming for in this quote-unquote perfection, we often just end up going through the motions. But when we take the time to look beneath the surface and ask ourselves why we're doing what we're doing, it helps to find a sense of purpose that allows us to better focus and achieve this betterment. Is that a word? Betterment? Here, take running a marathon, for example. If the only reason you have to run a marathon is to check it off your list, then there's not much motivational fuel there. But if you think about an ultra sense of accomplishment and feeling your best self at mile 26.2, well, what can be more of a powerful motivator? It's all about uncovering what truly moves you, rather than simply putting a fleeting idea on our scoreboard of life and hoping that we get there. But understanding why you want to run that marathon and how it will make your life better, or figuring out how making new friends as emotional bonding elevates our mood, or why cooking a nutritious meal is going to give you far more satisfaction than that bland, tasteless, lukewarm takeout inside of a styrofoam container. Understanding why we do the things that we do will be the motivator in trying to become better. Not perfect, better. Many of you say, you know what, I want to eat better this year. Okay, well, eating better can feel like a daunting task. It can be very overwhelming. It can be very difficult, it can be confusing. But if we stop for a moment, taking into account all of the potential benefits of nutritious meals, such as greater energy levels, weight management, not to mention that post-meal satisfaction that you made something and you got to eat it from your own hands, then the challenge quickly fades away. Eating well starts with making time for yourself in the kitchen and understanding why cooking a nutritious meal is going to give you far more satisfaction than that sad box of takeout. So this year, before you jot down your list of what needs to be perfect, ask the why behind the what. Then the idea of something being perfect no longer needs to be, well, perfect. How many times have you wished and wondered what it would be like if things actually were different, if things were perfect? We often think that if we only had achieved certain goals or reached certain milestones, then all of our problems would be solved and we'd finally be magically happy. But you and I both know that's not the case. But think about this with me. What happens when something, anything, isn't perfect? What happens when we put our hopes into something and we're expecting it to be everything we want it to be, and then it doesn't happen? When something isn't perfect, it's like a tiny tornado whipping inside of us. These winds of disappointment, they swirl around us and they throw us into a tailspin. All because we had this idea that something is supposed to be perfect. That first date, the degree from the Ivy League school, life. But life doesn't work like that. Happiness is not the end game. I'm going to say that again. Happiness is not the end game. Life is meant to be a much better experience than perfection ever could offer. Even when things seem tough, we learn from challenges. We learn from obstacles. We learn, are you ready? From imperfections. We live in a world where perfectionism is often considered the way to go, which is funny when you think about it. It's like where perfect is the high mark and better is second place. Why is this? It's certainly an admirable trait to strive for more. I understand that. But settling for better isn't necessarily settling at all. Striving for perfection can be this never ending pursuit, and one that often throws us into a race with no winner. Let's be completely honest. Sometimes it's worth cutting ourselves some slack and acknowledging that our best is actually good enough. There's something to be said for embracing excellence over perfection every once in a while and recognizing that our personal best, it can still have an impact beyond ourselves. But when you think about it, striving for perfect has its downfalls. For starters, it can be incredibly stressful, very time consuming, very overwhelming, trying to achieve something that technically isn't even achievable. We're so determined to get to the end of this achievement, this end of this journey, that we miss out on all of the wonderful experiences along the way. We pay no attention to the fragrance of the roses as we run past them and search for that trophy. Visualize that in your head. We pay no attention to the fragrance of the roses as we run past them, searching for that trophy instead. Don't discount how much effort you put into your everyday and trying to become better. Don't discount it. Don't discount how much effort you put into becoming better just because you wanted to win a race that can't be defined as winnable. Finding the balance between becoming a better version of yourself and striving for perfection, it's difficult, I'm not going to lie. Throw in some comparison to others, and it's downright overwhelming. That's okay. But before we end, I want to share an idea on how to stay focused on becoming better rather than becoming perfect. Take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Remember the marathon. Remember the eating right. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to become perfect because that's impossible. No one's going to run a complete marathon the first week they lace up their shoes. Instead, focus on becoming better each day. Set many achievable goals for yourself. If you want to be able to speak French, start learning one word at a time. Or if you're aiming for a healthier diet, make small changes, like swapping one meal for something nutritious. It'll all help you get closer to your ultimate goal without putting too much of a strain on your psychological well-being. In other words, it won't drive you mad. It's easy to get frustrated in life when things aren't going your way, especially when there's so much pressure to be perfect. So often we get caught up in this idea of perfection that we forget to live. Guess what? Life is happening all around us right now, even as you're listening to this. And it's not going to wait for us to be perfect. So this year, make a commitment to yourself. Make a commitment to yourself to being better. Not perfect, but just a little better than you were yesterday. Set goals that challenge you to be better than you were last year, yesterday, an hour ago. Dedicate yourself to seeing them through. Not perfect, better. To find more episodes of Calm It Down, see where I may be appearing in your area, or just simply want to know where to send me some chocolate chip cookies, visit calmitdownpodcast.com. This podcast was written and produced by yours truly, Chad Lawson, composer, pianist, and nationally recognized Sweet Tooth. The views, expressions, and techniques in this episode are of my personal opinion and not intended, nor should they, serve as a substitute for medical advice or diagnosis rendered to you by your individual doctor or other healthcare provider. Only a licensed physician should evaluate your situation, provide a diagnosis, or render other medical advice to you. And you should only act upon the advice of this physician. Now, I'm an extreme empath by nature, but my profession is that of a composer and pianist, not a licensed therapist or physician. I hear from thousands of listeners how my music has helped them through various stages of emotional needs, and I simply want to offer this in future podcast episodes to aid those needs. So to find a list of licensed professionals in your area, please visit calmitdownpodcast.com. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review, or better yet, share it with a friend. While it takes less than 60 seconds to do, its impact will last for years to come, as every little bit helps in growing the awareness and the importance of mental and emotional health. Thank you for listening. Thank you for living. And until next time, be kind to your mind and join me again as we calm it down.